Something I really wanted to do is to write very clean code, because I felt that the world was reading this code as a way to learn how to do splicing. So I tried to write clean code, well commented, as a way to stir more innovation and actually spread the knowledge of those algorithms that I was reading from papers and implementing in code. I was building my own debugging tools. This is, for instance, a tool that generates a section, a vertical section of a G code, so that you could see exactly where the printer would print the paths given a plane, intersecting plane, as a way to check whether supports or overhangs were correctly handled. The community was posting issues, bug reports, suggestions multiple times per day. That was my life. I loved interacting with the community. It took a lot of time, of course. Scaling the project was about a number of things beyond coding. For instance, managing consensus. Of course, being the main maintainer of the project means you are the dictator. That means you actually need to bring the community with you. So decisions were not very easy to make. For instance, around every single feature there was this debate. Shall we put one more configuration option to make Slicer more flexible, more configurable, at the cost of making it more complex to use, more complex to understand? Oh, one more option that could go wrong, and so on. So this was the endless quest for flexibility versus configuration option creep. Another thing that was a problem for me was, should I accept pull requests that are mid-quality, lower quality, or should I keep high-quality code with a high standard all the time at the cost of slowing down the project and becoming a bottleneck because I couldn't review all the pull requests and even the other people were not doing it at the necessary speed. So these were my concerns at the time. Books were printed and written by people around the world and published explaining how to use Slicer. I was reading them and learning new ways of using Slicer myself. It's not a joke, it's an interesting way to learn from users. Thanks to donations and sponsors, we also put effort on writing documentation, which is something every open source project forgets. And at some point, with the birth of the Marlin firmware, I had to decide whether Slicer should stay firmware agnostic, so able to work with any firmware, or optimized to work with a very active project that was under development. So actually with the Marlin team, we collaborated a lot because they were introducing new features and Slicer was introducing features that would only work with Marlin. So this was a sort of a political choice to bring the quality forward. Contributors from the community offered other kind of contributions. Designer contributed the logo, this logo, and an attorney, allowed 3D printing, contributed trademark registration because Slicer is open source, but like many open source projects, has a trademark on the name and the logo as a way to make sure that there is a bit of guarantee on how the name is used, especially with the rise of companies starting to use open source with their commercial products. At some point, something interesting happened. So Joe mentioned patents. There was a time in the 3D printing history that some companies started to patent stuff that was already circulating. So messages like these started to arise. Oh no, I did something, it's public, but they are filing a patent. Examples I'm gonna see. This is just one example that affected Slicer. So this is a patent about slicing. That patents are kept secret for some time before they are made public. So 2009. This is about a way to cross the ends of a perimeter before leaving it so that the seam is not visible. this was in the patent. I implemented this in Slicer where the patent was secret. So there was no way for me as a hobbyist to know that was patented. So we, as open source developers, we were stepping into someone else's field, to be fair, at the time. Problem is that that patent not only was made public, fine, okay, it's covered all well, but it was also updated with details that were introduced in Slicer. So details like the length, the angles, and so on were put in the patent like 2 months after they were published on GitHub. This is just one example. I have many other examples of things that were taken by the GitHub repo and transformed into patents. So at the time I was very scared because as an individual, as a hobbyist in my bedroom, how can I manage an issue with those large companies? So luckily the EFF helped in handling those things. Luckily nothing happened, but this of course could be worrying for someone trying to do something this big with your just in your room. So beyond development, Slicer kept me busy for many other things. Community relations was a big part of my job there. Working on bugs, backlog grooming, all the housekeeping stuff was really strong. Google Summer of Code initiative that we did together with 3 other open source projects. We joined the forces and we had Google Summer of Code students working with us. And traveling, conferences, hackerspaces, media attention, all nice, wonderful years, still taking more time from development. Increasing pressure, because at the same time I had more ideas, I had community telling, why don't you do this? There is a new open source project implementing this feature. Oh, Slicer is crap because it doesn't have this feature. And I was feeling bad about this. So, request, criticism, it's normal, it's perfectly normal. I'm just openly telling you the feelings of an open source developer. Too many ideas, not enough time to make them real. Time to take a break. So a long break, I configured a filter in my mailbox. Everything containing Slicer went to a hidden mailbox. So for a while, I disappeared from the project. I needed that. Basically, what happened is that I silently quit the project. And a nice thing happened. So this for me is a lesson learned. Suddenly, new people, new contributors, new maintainers emerged from nowhere. And I learned that if we spot your community, talents will not emerge. I was trying to do myself too many things, and people were not feeling the need to contribute themselves. So that was incredible. Very good contributions, and even new co-maintainers that I promoted to the repo so on emerged just because I was less active than before. So lesson learned that I shared with you. And also forks. So Cruise of Slicer is the most well-known fork. There are others by other companies, independent projects. So the Slicer code base is somehow living in a more modern, more mundane projects with very skilled developers, with good funding and so on. So actually, quitting the project at that time was not a bad thing, actually. It was the kickstart of more innovation of the project, and open source lives beyond people. So when you know this from the beginning, you are not jealous of your baby, you're not jealous that they could take your code, change the name, reuse it, as long as they respect your license. That's part of the game. So that's it. This is Slicer's story. Thank you.